Hello students, welcome to the fifth lecture on the chapter number 7 Engine Performance. In the last lecture we have started with numerical on this chapter and also we have seen few types of the numericals in the last lecture, and today we will see some more types of the numericals. So we will start with the problem. So the problem is, first we'll read the problem carefully and at the same time we'll write down the given terms. A gasoline engine working on 4-stroke develops a brake power of 20.9 kilowatt. That means first one we can say that 4-stroke engine is there and brake power is given 20.9 kilowatt. So we will write down brake power 1 2 3 4. Here it is written 1 2 3 4. Why? We will discuss afterwards. Is equals to 20.9 kilowatt. A Morse test was conducted on the engine and brake powers obtained when each cylinder was made inoperative by short circuiting spark plugs are 14.9, 14.3, 14.8 and 14.5 respectively. That means Morse test is to be considered, and we know that in the Morse test what we have done, we have to made each cylinder inoperative one by one, and whatever the brake powers are there that we have to record. The same process was repeated here, and those brake power after inoperative the engine cylinders, those are given here that we will write. So first brake power 14.9 will consider. Brake power here it is given 234 is equals to 14.9 kilowatt. What is mean by this 234? Means brake power when cylinder 2, 3 and 4 are working and cylinder 1 is inoperative. Brake power is 14.9 kilowatt. Next 14.3 brake power of 3, 4 and 1 means engine cylinder 3, 4, 1 are working and second cylinder is made inoperative. Brake power is 14.3 kilowatt. Similarly for the brake power 4, 1, 2 14.8 and brake power of 1, 2, 3 14.5 kilowatt. That's why we have written here brake power of 1, 2, 3, 4. All 4 cylinders are working 20.9 kilowatt. So this is about the given terms. The next, the test was conducted at constant speed. Find indicated power, mechanical efficiency, brake mean effective pressure when all cylinders are firing. That means we have the three unknowns. First one, indicated power. Second one, mechanical efficiency, and third one, brake mean effective pressure. This we have to find out. When all cylinders are firing, the bore of the engine is 75 mm. That means diameter is given 75 mm. We'll convert this in terms of meter, 0.075 meter. At the same time, stroke is given. That means length is given 90 mm. We'll again convert this in terms of meter. Then next, engine is running at 3000 rpm means speed is given n 3000 rpm. So these are the given terms and we have to find out these three unknowns. So we'll start with first, we know the procedure for finding out the indicated power by using the Morse test. First we have to find out the indicated power of individual cylinders. That means we have to find out first indicated power when cylinder 1 is cut off. That means indicated power of cylinder 1, which will be brake power when all cylinders are firing minus brake power when first cylinder was made inoperative, means brake power of 1, 2, 3, 4 minus brake power of 2, 3, 4. Both these values are available here. We have to just put those values and subtract the value. We will get the indicated power of first cylinder, which will be 60 kilowatt. So in this way we can find out the indicated power of individual cylinder. Indicated power of first 6.0 kilowatt, like this. Now in the same manner we have to find out the indicated power of second cylinder, third cylinder, fourth cylinder. IP2 brake power, all cylinders are firing minus brake power when second cylinder was inoperative. In this way we will get the IP2 6.6 kilowatt. We will get IP3 6.1 kilowatt and IP4 6.4 kilowatt. So in this way we get individual brake indicated power of cylinders, all 4 cylinders. Now what we require? We require the total indicated power. So what we have to do? We have to just add all those 4 indicated powers which we have get for the individual cylinders. That means indicated power for cylinders 1, 2, 3, 4 is equals to IP1 plus IP2 plus IP3 plus IP4. So by the addition, we will get the total indicated power, which will be 20.1 kilowatt. So this will be our first unknown, indicated power. Now next, second unknown that we have to find out, that is mechanical efficiency. Now we have the indicated power, total indicated power. Also total brake power was given, brake power for the 4 cylinders. So by using these two values, we have to just find out the mechanical efficiency. Formula is mechanical efficiency is equals to brake power divided by indicated power. We have to just put those values and made the calculation. We will get the mechanical efficiency 83.3%. So this is our second unknown. And third unknown, brake mean effective pressure. We know that the formula for the brake mean effective pressure we have to use for the formula for the brake power, which will be brake power equals to PBM into Vs into N into K divided by 60,000. By using this formula, we have to find out the brake mean effective pressure. So if we require the brake mean effective pressure, all these unknowns we should know. Brake power, it is given for the all cylinders. Now Vs is nothing but the swept volume, which we can find out by pi by 4 d square into L. N, small n is nothing but the number of power strokes. The speed is given, we can easily find out this small n, and K means nothing but the number of cylinders, which are 4. So we just have to put those values and solve. So in this way we will get the next step, that is brake power 20.9 kilowatt equals to PBM into Vs is nothing but pi by 4 d square into L. Pi by 4 d square into L. We have to put the value of d and L into small n equals to capital N, which is 3000 divided by 2 into number of cylinders 4. We just have to solve this equation, and whatever our value which will get, that nothing but the brake mean effective pressure, which will be 5.25 into 10 raised to 5 Newton per meter square. So convert this in terms of bar. So we can say our final unknown, that is brake mean effective pressure, is equals to 5.25 bar. So in this way, by using the Morse test, we can find out our unknowns. Okay. Now we'll see the next problem. Next problem is also related to the Morse test. Once you understand this previous problem, easily you can able to solve this problem also. So we'll see what is given in this problem. A Morse test on 12 cylinders. We can say that K value is equals to 12, number of cylinders. 2-stroke engine is there, that means small n equals to capital N. 2-stroke CI engine of bore, that means diameter is given, stroke is given. L, that means D is given, L is given. Running at 200 RPM, speed is also given, N. Now RPM gave the following readings, and whatever the readings are there, those are written here. So in that readings, first condition is given, that means all cylinders are firing, first cylinder is made inoperative, second cylinder is made inoperative, in this way, and particular brake load is given. Here not brake power is given, brake load is given, which is in terms of Newton. So we have to first of all find out the brake power. How we have to find out the brake power? Here separate formula is given in the problem. Output is found from the dynamometer using the relation, that is brake power equals to W into N divided by 180. This W is nothing but this brake load, and N is nothing but our speed. So by using this formula, we have to find out the brake power when all cylinders are firing, first cylinder, second cylinder, third cylinder, like this. In this way, we have to find out the brake powers, where this W is nothing but the brake load and N is nothing but the RPM. And we have to find out indicated power, mechanical efficiency, and brake mean effective pressure, similar to the previous problem. Okay, so we'll see how to find out. So these are the given terms which we have just now discussed. So first, what we have to do, we have to find out the total brake power when all cylinders are firing. So here two total brake powers are given. First this all firing, which is given 2040. Also at the last, again all firing 2060. So what we have to do, we have to take the average of both these and we have to find out the brake power using this formula. So formula is given W into N divided by 180. We have to put the value of W into N, speed 200 divided by 180. So in this way you will get the brake power when all cylinders 1 to 12 are firing, which will be 2277.8 kilowatt. So in this way we will get the total brake power. Now we have to find out the individual brake powers IP1, IP2, IP3 up to IP12, similar to the previous problem. How to find out that? Again same formula. IP1 is equals to total brake power minus brake power when cylinder 1 is made inoperative. So how to find out this brake power when cylinder 1 is made operative? Formula is given here. Then that this same formula W into N divided by 180. We have to use this formula, but we have to consider the weight which was given here for the first cylinder 1830. So we have to put those values here. So you will get this brake power when cylinder 1 is made inoperative, which will be brake power when 2 to 12 are operative. So in this way we can find out the indicated power similar to the last problem IP1. Now we have to again find out the indicated power up to 12. So we will make this table in which indicated powers are mentioned here. For the indicated power 1, this value will be there. Indicated power 2, value will be there. We have to make the calculation and we have to directly write down those values. Now we required finally indicated power. We just have all these. We just have to add all these indicated powers from IP1 to IP12. So that will be your finally indicated power. And now once you get the indicated power, now similar to the previous problem, we can find out the mechanical efficiency by using brake power divided by indicated power. And in the same manner to the previous problem, we have to find out the brake mean effective pressure. Brake power equals to PBM into Vs. Vs is nothing but pi by 4 d square into L into small n into K divided by 60,000. We just have to put those values and you will get the brake mean effective pressure. After solving this equation, we will get the final value, that is brake mean effective pressure. So in this way we can find out the all unknowns by using the Morse test. Okay, now we'll see the next problem. This problem is based on the heat balance sheet. Last problem on this chapter, which depends on the heat balance sheet. This problem will look slightly lengthy. We will solve this problem. Now we'll read the problem as well as we'll write down the given terms. A 4-stroke gas engine has a cylinder diameter of 25 cm and stroke 45 cm. That means diameter small d is given and stroke 45 cm length is given. Now next, the effective diameter of brake is 1.6 meter. Now again one more diameter comes into the play. This diameter we have to consider effective diameter d of E. This diameter we have to use while calculating the brake power on the dynamometer. That's why we will consider this as a d of E effective, which we have to use for finding out the brake power by using the dynamometer. Now next, the observations made in the test of the engine were as follows. Duration of the test 40 minutes, that means time is given t equals to 40 minutes. Then next, total number of revolution 8080, that is nothing but the speed is given n, and total number of explosions given 3230. That means what is meant by total number of explosion? Number of power strokes, small n, 3230. Now next, net load on the brake 90 kg. Which value will be there? This net load. So this net load, as the here unit suggests kg, we have to consider the mass which we have to apply while calculating the brake power on the dynamometers. That is, mass m is given as a 90 kg. Next, mean effective pressure is given 5.8 bar. This mean effective pressure 5.8 will convert in terms of Newton per meter square into 10 raised to 5. Then next, volume of the gas used, it is given 7.5 meter cube. That is, we'll consider V1 value 7.5 meter cube. Pressure of the gas indicated in the meter will be equals to 770 mm of the Hg. Here it is not given in terms of bar or Newton per meter square. It is pressure is given in terms of mm of the Hg. So we'll write down this P1 770 mm of the Hg. Then next, atmospheric temperature is given 17 degrees Celsius. That is, we'll consider T1 equals to 17 degrees Celsius is equals to 290 Kelvin. Now next, calorific value of the gas 19 megajoule per meter cube at NTP. Here especially NTP is mentioned, normal temperature and pressure. So we have to consider calorific value at the NTP, which will be 19 megajoule per meter cube. We have to convert this megajoule into kilojoule per meter cube, which will be 19 into 10 raised to 3 kilojoule per meter cube. So this calorific value we'll write down here. Calorific value 19 megajoule per meter cube equal to 19,000 kilojoule per meter cube at NTP. Okay. Now next, what is given? Rise in the temperature of jacket cooling water 45 degrees Celsius. Rise in the temperature is given. That means delta T is given of the water. That means we'll consider delta T of W, which will be 45 degrees Celsius. Then next, cooling water supplied equals to 180. That means mass of water is given 180 kg. Mass of water. Now next, draw up a heat balance sheet and estimate the indicated thermal efficiency and break thermal efficiencies. That means first we have to draw the heat balance sheet and then after we have to estimate indicated thermal efficiency and break thermal efficiencies, and assume atmospheric pressure as 760 mm of the Hg. That means we have to consider atmospheric pressure will consider as a P2, which will be 760 mm of the Hg. Now we'll see how to find out this heat balance sheet as well as our unknown values. So for this, first of all, we'll find out the two main important values, that is indicated power and break power. How to find out this? We'll see. We know the formula for finding out the indicated power is PIM into Vs into N into K divided by 60,000, where PIM is nothing but the indicated mean effective pressure, Vs is pi by 4 d square into L into N into K. So we have to use this formula. All values are known to us. PIM 5.8 into 10 raised to 5, pi by 4, d is known to us, L is known to us, small n is given. So small n is given here 3230, but we have to consider this small n for per minute, because here this small n value is 3230, but this is for the 40 minute. So we have to consider for the 1 minute. So that's why we have divided this small n 3230 divided by 40 for the per unit. Into K, number of cylinders, only one cylinder will be there, not a multi-cylinder engine. So by using this, we have to find out the indicated power. By the calculations, we will get the indicated power 17.25 kilowatt. Now next, we have to find out the break power. So here we are not able to use this PBM into Vs into N into K because break mean effective pressure was not given. Indicated mean effective pressure was given. That's why we have used this here for finding out the indicated power. Now for finding out the break power, we have to use the formula 2 pi nt divided by 60,000, and T is nothing but the torque. How to find out this torque? We know that. So this torque we are able to find out by W into Re, that is radius of effective radius we can say, and W is nothing but the weight applied. So by using this formula, we can able to find out this break power, that is 2 pi. We can easily resolve this formula as a 2 pi nt divided by 60 is equals to 2 pi n W into Re divided by 60,000 is equals to 2 pi n. This W is nothing but weight. So weight we can replace as m into G into Re divided by 60,000. So all values are known to us now. We have to just put those values here, and by the calculation we will get the break power, which will be 14.94 kilowatt. Now we have the value of break power and indicated power. Now next we require the value of, if it is given the mass, we require the value of mass of the fuel consumption. If the volume is given, we require the value of volume of consumption of fuel. So first we'll find out the volume of gas used or volume of gas consumed at NTP condition, which we have to use for the finding out the heat input. So now we'll see how to find out the volume of gas used at NTP. We know the formula PV is equal to MRT, where M is constant. Here we are considering that is total mass which is taken inside the cylinder, it will be constant. So M will be constant, and R is nothing but the universal gas constant, that is also constant. So we'll apply this equation for the two condition, for the atmospheric condition and NTP condition, and we'll consider we will get the formula P1 V1 upon T1 at atmospheric condition equals to P2 V2 upon T2 at the NTP conditions. Now we have the value of P1 770 mm of the Hg into 7.5 volume divided by T1, temperature is also known to us, is equals to 760, pressure is given for the NTP condition, into V2 is nothing but our volume of gas used, unknown, divided by T2 it is also known. For the NTP condition we have to consider 273. Now just we have to solve this equation, and by this solving this equation we will get the value of V2, which will be V2 equals to 7.15 meter cube. So it is in terms of meter cube. Now we require this in terms of meter cube per time. So for this we will divide with respect to 40, because total number of time is for the 40 minutes. So we will get this V2 7.15 divided by 40 meter cube per minute. Okay. Now we have the value of volume of gas used at NTP condition. Now we have to use this value for finding out the heat supplied or amount of heat released inside the engine. So we have to use the formula heat supplied is equals to V dot F into CV. If M dot F was given, we will use that M dot F, but here V dot F is, we have find out V dot F into CV. So by using this calculation we will get the heat supplied is equals to 3396.25 kilojoule per minute. So this is nothing but the heat released inside the engine. Now this heat is going to be utilized for number of ways, like brake power. Some heat is going to be utilized for the cooling water. So we have to find out how this heat is going to be utilized for number of ways. In that, first of all we'll find out the heat equivalent which is going to be used for generating the brake power, which will be brake power into 60. So we have the brake power 14.94 into 60 for converting kilojoule per minute, because that 14.94 it is in nothing but the kilowatt. We have to convert this in terms of kilojoule per minute. That's why we have multiplied with respect to 60. So we will get the heat equivalent of brake power 896.4 kilojoule per minute. Now next, some amount of heat is going to be consumed by the cooling water. So we'll find out that heat loss to the cooling water, which will be MW CPW into delta TW. MW is given 180, but that 180 is given for the 40 minutes. So we'll require for the per minute. So that's why 180 divided by 40 into Cp of water. We know the Cp of water 4.18 into delta T, that is temperature difference. It was given 45 degrees Celsius. So by calculation we will get the heat loss to the cooling water, which will be 846.5 kilojoule per minute. Now next amount of heat which is going to be used, that is heat loss to the exhaust gases or that radiation. We will find out this value by subtracting the total amount of heat generated minus heat used for the brake power minus heat used for the cooling water. In this way we are able to find out this heat loss to the exhaust, or we can say that by the radiation. So total amount of heat generated is 3396.25 minus we have to add these two heat, that is heat equivalent to brake power 896.4 plus heat loss to the cooling water 846.5. So finally we will get this heat loss to the exhaust gases, which will be 1653.35 kilojoule per minute. So now we have all these four values. We have to use these four values and we have to draw the heat balance sheet. So this is nothing but heat balance sheet, in which we have to show how heat is going to be utilized from its input to its output point. That means heat balance sheet. This heat is going to be generated, that is heat supplied by the fuel. We have to write in this column heat input, which is 3396.25, and this heat is going to be consumed in these three ways. Heat to the brake power 896.40, or it was called as a heat expenditure 896.40, heat to the cooling water 846.50, and heat in the exhaust is 1653.35. So total will be same equals to the heat supplied 3396.25. So this is about the heat balance sheet. So in this way you can find out the heat balance sheet for the given values. Now next few two unknowns are there that we have to find out, that is one is indicated thermal efficiency and second one is a brake thermal efficiency. Now we know the formula for the indicated thermal efficiency is equals to indicated power divided by heat input. Heat input is nothing but V dot F into CV. Indicated power we have find out 17.25 divided by V dot F into CV. We have to multiply it with respect to 100 for finding out the percentage. Here we have divided with respect to 60 because this 3396.25, this V dot F 3396.25, this V dot F is nothing but the in terms of kilojoule per minute. That's why we will convert this in terms of kilowatt, that is kilojoule per second. So in this way we will get the indicated thermal efficiency 30.47. In the same manner we will get the brake thermal efficiency, which is nothing but brake power divided by V dot F into CV. Brake power is 14.94 kilowatt divided by 3396.25 divided by 60 into 100 for the percentage. So we will get the brake thermal efficiency 26.39. So this is about this last numerical. In this way we have completed the numericals on this chapter, as well as we have completed this chapter number 7, engine performance. Thank you.